All right, hope everyone's doing well. Recapping the game against Miami, obviously a lot of hurt, when you lose a game like that, particularly one where you knew you had many opportunities to have a different outcome. We were 2 of 4 in the red zone. We had 2 field goals, 2 touchdowns, and I had said that earlier in the week, that scoring touchdowns in the red zone was a goal of ours. We felt like we could swing the game. If either one of those field goals is a touchdown, that's the difference in the game, and you lose by 1, you find many things. We stop them in the red zone on defense. They do a snap down with their field goal to get us to jump off sides, which we had practiced all week. And so that was a huge mental mistake on Corey's side, one that he was, very upset about during the game, and understandably so. But that was 3 points turned into 7. That's 4 points. We lose by 3. We had a drop, critical drop pass by Devin Carter, and, same guy that makes 2 incredible catches against Clemson and, has a basic human moment where he dropped a pass that obviously might have put us in field goal range, probably would have there at the end of the game. And all these guys that make mistakes, they all feel horrible about it. But that's football, and we lost by 1 point. We had chances to win the game. And, all these guys will work hard to respond. That's one thing that I do know about our kids. They're going to bounce back, and they're going to give everything they got. We didn't have anything really go our way, and in games like that, we had a muffed punt, weirdest play I've ever seen. Anthony Smith forces a fumble. His helmet gets ripped off. He stands up, and then the ball gets refumbled at his feet. And, even though you're not supposed to keep playing, I don't know what person on the planet Earth would not try to recover that ball. And we don't get it back, So when weird things like that happen, you've got to overcome it with plays, and we just didn't. It's a loss. Obviously, you never want to lose a game. But we still control our destiny here, and I think that's the silver lining. The biggest loss of the game, Isaiah Moore is out for the season, and that, to me, was the biggest loss in the game, not losing the game, losing a player of that magnitude, a leader of that magnitude. And Chandler Zavala, who's been out for a while, will not return either. Both these guys need a surgery, and both will have an opportunity to continue playing, whether they choose to do that here or to move on to the NFL. That'll be a decision they make later in life. But, we're down now 4 defensive starters, Peyton Wilson, Cyrus Fagan, C.J. Clark, and Isaiah Moore, 4 guys that we think are really good. And so it is the next man up thing, here. The guys will work hard to step into their roles, just like we have all season. But there's a loss of production that does become a concern on defense. And so we've got to do a lot of really looking at what we're doing fundamentally, making sure we're putting these guys schematically in the best places we can, and the kids that are playing well have to continue to play well around them and make up for those losses. But I'm excited to see, the guys step up, just like we have this year. I think Jalen Scott has stepped up and played his best football. Corey Durden's made some big plays for us. Devin Boykin came in and made some great plays in the Boston College game, and now Devon Betty will have an opportunity to play more for us. You'll get to see Levi Jones playing more for us, so that's the way it goes. My heart breaks for Isaiah. For those of you that know Isaiah, he means a lot to our program. And so a guy that was playing as good as him, that's been through so much, that's done so much for us on and off the field, your heart breaks for guys like that. And that's life. No one says life is fair, and no one says that good things always happen to good people. That's just not how it works. And Isaiah is very spiritual. He's in a great place with God, and I know that he'll take this recovery the right way. I think he'll continue to be a great leader for our team. I know he will, and we'll be here to support him. Going back to the game, I thought the score before the end of the half by our offense was outstanding to get a touchdown. They're a very athletic, disruptive defense, and to keep them out of our backfield the way we did, they only had 1 sack. We only gave them 2 tackles for loss. We had 13 tackles in their backfield. So, to look at how that line of scrimmage stuff happened, we did not turn the football over. We won the field position battle, 130 yards. So there were some things that happened that gave us a chance to win that game, and unfortunately we just didn't make the plays. we were not good enough on third down, and that's a result of third and long too many times. There's way too many 3rd and 7+ situations. I thought Devin Leary did some really good things. He also had some, kind of inaccurate moments that haven't been him. He missed on a couple deep balls. He missed underneath on a couple easy throws. And I know he'll bounce back from that. I already mentioned the drops. Defensively, I thought, we played their run game well. We were in their backfield a lot. We tackled well. We just gave up too many big plays, 7 passes over 15 yards, and they hit us on a couple big plays on short yardage with play actions. So you got to give them credit for executing those. Their quarterback made a couple throws with guys right in his face that we didn't think he could make, and he did. So, good job by him. But we did not get any takeaways on defense, getting the ball back, something we need to do. We had been doing well. We were leading the ACC going into the game with 8 interceptions, and we didn't have any. I thought our special teams were really good. Gave ourselves field position on both sides of the football. We pinned them back there twice. We had good punt pressure. We had a couple of opportunities to have some big returns in the kickoff return game and didn't. We were close. Trent Gill continues to punt and kick off at a high level. And probably the thing that went understated last in that game was Chris Dunn became the all-time leading scorer in NC State football history. And so for a guy that has done some incredible things, that's had a tough year because of one game, he definitely put his mark and his legacy on our program and was 3 for 3 in the game. I thought our punt coverage by Anthony Smith and Delbert Mims was really good. And our fake punt was very well executed, was a big momentum play in the game and led to a touchdown in that drive. And it's unfortunate that didn't spark us more. Now we're on to a very impressive football team. Louisville had a 28-14 win and overcame 4 turnovers on offense and still won, by a 2-score margin. I think their quarterback is an outstanding player. He's not just an athlete. He's a really good quarterback. He's got 12 rushing touchdowns. He's operating their offense. You can tell he's played a ton of football for them. And managing the game, just throwing the ball around, getting it to his receivers. And Louisville's always had good skill on the perimeter, and they do again. The tight ends are good players. They move them around. They use shifts and motions for misdirection. Their O-line is athletic. And, the run game, there's not a lot to it, but they're really good at it. The wide zone stretch lead, and then the inside zone and split zones. They have great play-action pass series that comes off their run game and the naked series that allows the quarterback to be an athlete with the pass game. And they protect him well, and some of that's him getting out of things, but they've only been sacked 1 time per game. But, they're running the ball well. They rushed for 331 yards last week against Boston College. That's hard to do against a BC team. And they've rushed for 200 yards 3 straight games. So a great opportunity to play a very physical, good football team here. Their defense leads the conference now with 9 interceptions, and they give you a lot of looks, a lot of pressures, multiple fronts. They play hard. Their kicking game is very sound, and they're a physical opponent. So I look forward to being home. It's been a while with the state fair and the bye week, a month since we've been able to play a home game. And last time we were here, we had a great crowd. And this is homecoming, so we need a great crowd again, and we still control our own destiny. I know a lot of fans were disappointed, upset, whatever you may say about the loss we just had, and so were we, more than you. But we still have it all in front of us, and we got to win 1 game at a time to make that a reality, and that starts with Louisville here at home. And we need that 12th man like we had in the Clemson game to be there for us in this night game atmosphere on homecoming weekend. And so the more you can be there early, stay throughout the half, be there for us in the 3rd and 4th quarter, and help us make their offense hard to run with that crowd noise. That is a huge thing for our football team. With this team, I know I said this earlier, they will respond. The best way to get over a loss is to get back on the grass and get back to work, and we need to focus on executing, not beating ourselves and finishing drives on offense with touchdowns. And then defending, obviously, what we're going to see here in their run game, their play-action game. That's where our focus will go. So, that's where we're at. Football is a fickle game, and you got to make the plays, and they're there in one possession games, and we look forward to the next opportunity. Questions?
David Thompson.
Coach, you definitely talked about this a good bit just now, but does it give you comfort just seeing the way that your team persevered last time they dealt with this? I mean, when you lost to Mississippi State, it was a similar setback, lost two important players, came back, won 4 in a row. Do you see the same type of, bounce back, with this team already?
Yeah, we're going to have the same demeanor. The kids, everybody was hurting yesterday. By the time we were done meeting with them and talking, they know what we got to do, and I trust them to do it. The difference is, you're doing it with less than you had the last time you had to do it. Last time we were missing 2 starters on defense. Now we're missing 4. So again, it's a challenge. It's also an opportunity, and we'll look at it as the latter with our football team. So that's where we're at.
Jonas.
Coach, do you, moving forward, do you cross-train Drake or Jalen and put them in the middle to have more experience and put Betty on the outside, or is Betty shown enough? He's looked well in flashes to hold down that middle spot for you guys. Yeah,
Tony's going to have to teach them all how to play. Jalen already knows how to play all 3 spots. Drake has played Sam and Will. Levi has played Sam and Will. He'll have to cross-train one of those guys like you mentioned, and then we'll see how it plays out. I know he's going to toy around with it this week a little bit. The goal is to get your your best 3 out there and then have one that can spell guys, and so that's kind of where we're at. I'll have a better feel, by the end of the week on what we're going to be doing there.
And for what you saw from Betty, you got 7 tackles Saturday.
Yeah.
Lost for the safety against Boston College. You kind of assess how he's played. It's hard to get on the field behind Isaiah Moore, but if he's gotten on the field, you kind of assess how he's played. He's done a nice job. He's been very productive. He made a couple coverage mistakes in the game. Things he'll learn from. That's the difference, right? There was times when Isaiah was a young player, he'd make mistakes and he'd learn from them. Betty's going to do the same thing. The thing that I will say about him, he's a very conscientious guy. He studies film. He's ready to play. He'll do everything he can to be as good as he can each week. And I think that's the one thing that he's ahead of his years from a maturity standpoint when it comes to preparing for games. And so, I would look for him, and whatever the role is Tony gives him, whether it's at Mike, Sam, or Will, he'll be ready to play.
Pat.
Coach, how frustrating is it that some of the goodwill you built up with the fan base after the Clemson win kind of evaporates after the Miami loss?
It's hard for me to answer that because I didn't really read anything. I've been locked in here. I just can only guess. It's frustrating because, you think we wanted to drop a pass or jump off sides. Nobody wanted that to happen, but it did. And these, at the end of the day, they're still 18 to 22-year-old guys, man. And there's sometimes going to be a mistake that none of us like, but that's where we're at. They're still growing in the game. So I'm going to love these players. I'm going to love our staff. We're going to stick together, and we're going to work hard together. And hopefully the passion and the grief of the loss to our fan base will return to the support for the athletes. This is where it should be. These kids work really hard. They're still in control of their own destiny, and be a shame if the fans didn't see it that way once they get over the, shock of losing a football game.
Corey.
Dave, I wanted to ask you about Chandler Zavala as well. I know you mentioned that he's out for the season too. What kind of impact does that have on the offensive line? Obviously, Derek Eason has started the last 2 games, and there's been some shuffling. But what have you seen from the last 2 games, and what kind of impact does that have moving forward?
Well, it hurts our depth. We were able to rotate. Derek Eason was coming in the game and spelling Dylan McMahon, and Dylan was able to go over, and spell Chandler, and Spees was able to spell, and Tim McKay. So, we kind of had a pair and a spare, I guess you would say, that was keeping each other fresh. We no longer have that, ability. So it hurts your depth more than anything. It's forcing Dylan McMahon and Derek Eason to play full games instead of maybe 60% of a game, That's the biggest part. So, right now we're in the process of developing that next man. Right now, Spees is the guy that can kind of play everywhere but center for us. We can move him in and out if we need to. So I think the biggest toll that we're having now is we had all this depth. That depth is no longer there. You're now backed up. We were backed up like seniors with juniors. Now it's juniors with freshmen. It's hard to have senior, junior, sophomore, freshman in every position group. We just don't have that.
And as a follow-up, looking at the last 2 games, it seems like the running game has been kind of the portion that struggled the most after losing Zavala. When you look back at the tape, the film from these last 2 games, I mean, is it more on the reshuffling of the offensive line, or is it more of Ricky and Bam needing to step up and be able to get to those next levels in the next few games?
No, it's not on the running backs. They're still averaging, close to 5 yards a carry. I think there's a couple things. We're throwing the ball a little bit more because we're getting loaded boxes. That's one of the things, if you look at how we're being played, I think you need to pay attention to that as well. Our yards per carry is not a negative for our offense. It's, how many times do you want to hand it off into a box where they got more than you got? So you got to understand that part of football when you ask that question. I do think losing a starter, there's going to be some drop-off. I think Chandler Zavala is a gigantic guy, and he's very athletic. And so we got a little smaller, just a little bit. But I think it's more, you look at Miami, and they had everybody in the box, and their zone blitzing and bringing, guys here and there and slanting their lines and all that stuff. So we were dishing the ball out, get behind, you're starting to throw it a little bit more. But, we do want to have a balanced offense if we can. But, no, I think Bam and Ricky are running hard.
Thanks.
Aaron.
Yeah, Dave, you mentioned, a drop or a penalty. Those are things you coach all the time, all week. How do you sort of balance, guys know they made a mistake, not harping on it, but also emphasizing it, I guess, in that kind of situation? Or do you just do it the same as you've been doing it?
Yeah, I think it's just, hey, here's what happened. Why did it happen? All right, let's figure out how we can understand what the mistake was. If it's a catch where the guy maybe started to run before he caught the football, and then you're talking about finishing the catch. How do you finish a catch? You frame it, you tuck it, you run. If it's a penalty, then that's a focus thing, and we deal with that all the time. Been dealing with it since January. That one was critical because we knew they were going to do it, and we still jumped, and so that one was really disappointing. But, sometimes things just happen. Like I said earlier, these guys aren't perfect, They're going to make some mistakes, and sometimes they cost you more than other times, That's just the way that the sport is, and sometimes you can overcome them, and sometimes you can't.
James.
Yeah, Dave, the fake punt call, is that something you guys saw going into the week, and just kind of talk through that a little bit?
We've had that fake in since training camp. Been waiting for the right moment to call it, and it was a time we needed momentum. Usually when you get closer to the 50-yard line, you get their safe punt, like their defense stays on the field. So if you want to really succeed on a fake punt, you have to call it when it's a situation where you think they're going to come after a punt, and we've been looking at how they lined up to our formation throughout the game. We felt like we had it, and, called it at the right time. The guys executed it, like I said, and if you watch the play, our left tackle on the play did a tremendous job, DeMarcus Jones. He drove his guy into another guy, ended up blocking 2 people on the play. It was a great job by DeMarcus, and then Trent getting around it. But, you always have things like that in your play bank, and sometimes you can't call it because, had they come out in a different look where it wasn't good, we would have had to have killed it and just punted it away. So, that was a good play for us in the game.
And just to follow up, you were able to hit Anthony on a deep ball this game. How big is that for his confidence?
Yeah.
Maybe it's something you see going forward from him.
Well, he's the fastest guy on our team, and we've tried it throughout the year, and he's still learning how to adjust to the ball and track the football down the field. That was a great play. I was really happy for him, and he's getting more and more confident. I think that's the thing I told him earlier in the year. You're probably not going to play as much as you want just because of these kids that came back. When C.J. Riley and Emeka decided to come back for their COVID year, if you're a young receiver, normally you'd be playing a lot more than you're going to with those guys back. And so you've got to take it in stride and get better and better and better and be ready, for your moment when it comes. And he's made some plays on special teams, which has built his confidence. And so I was happy to see that and happy to see Devin and him connect. And it's nice to have a guy who runs 22 miles an hour in practice every day. I mean, he's the fastest guy on our team. So to have a guy like that that's catching the ball, it helps you can stretch the field.
Jonas.
Coach, I'm sure the last few days of Louisville coaches have been in the film session watching what is working against you guys against, the last couple of games, especially against the Miami game, the most recent game. What's the one thing or the main thing you guys want to take off film or kind of work on this week? Because you kind of know that they're going to try to exploit that coming to the game on Saturday.
Yeah. Well, I think just the last two games in general, because of what we saw, we got a lot of play action pass these last 2 weeks, and obviously Louisville already does that. But just our ability, we're stopping the run. I mean, we're number one in the league in rushing defense. When you do that, you're going to get nakeds and play actions, and you have to be great at that too. And so I think the ability to not just stop the run, but also defend the play action pass and the nakeds the way that we want to. You're not going to always stop them all, but if they have to throw the check down or if it's a flood concept and there's three guys on the sideline, make them throw the short one, make them throw the check down on the naked. So, trying to get them off of the deeper throws and just controlling our eyes better in the secondary on those types of things would be the number one thing, probably, Jonas.
And as a quick follow-up, their freshman running back, Tradion Cooley, has really emerged as season going along. He's a vocal guy.
Yeah.
Can you just kind of talk about his progression and what you've seen from him on film so far from Tradion?
Well, we liked him a lot, at Nightdale. Really good young man. Enjoyed getting to know him in the recruiting process and chose to leave the state. And you see him getting more and more. He caught a wheel route for a touchdown earlier, just had his first 100-yard game. But, he was a track athlete in high school that had good track times as well, so we know he's got that kind of speed. A tough kid, and like I said, we got to know him. He was over here quite a bit. I think he's a really good person.
David.
Hey, Coach, I know when Peyton got hurt, you guys replaced him at captain with Drake. Have you assigned a new captain for Isaiah, and did he have anybody that he wanted to know?
No, I haven't. No, we just found out today, so I haven't gone down that path. We may do game captains, which I've done in the past, just based on who's really, stepped up that week on defense. We'll have to see how that plays out, but I haven't gotten there yet.
Are these injuries made even harder when it's not just guys who are so talented, but who are such leaders on the team?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's, if you wanted to pull the foremost vocal playmakers out of our defense, we just did, so that makes it hard. It really does. It puts more stress on the guys around them. They're going to have to step up and take advantage of the roles. Drake's going to have to be that vocal guy now, and Devin Boykin, who talks a lot, coach's son, but these guys, Devin, are going to have to step up and help us. And, I think anytime you have a loss on the roster, it's replaced not only by the player that comes into the lineup, but the guys around them. The guys that have experience now have to just play a little bit better, each of them, to make up for that loss. And our guys, unfortunately, have experience with that. So we're just going to have to do a great job of it. And we've got to play complementary football. We've got to play great on special teams. Our offense is down one starter, defense is down four, so the offense is going to have to help us out a little bit that way, and that's the way it is, But I can tell you this, I'm not saying these things as an excuse. It's the reality, right? This is the reality of where we're at. It doesn't change our goals. We're still one game at a time. We still play a good Louisville team, and I still got a bunch of guys that want to win that game. And so that's where our focus is.
All right, that's all the questions. Thank you, Coach.
All right, y'all have a good one.
Thanks, everybody.